Street Kids International and CDA's educational toolkits tends to fall within what I would consider the alternative spectrum of education. Perhaps you can discuss a little bit about the alternative versus the regular stream of education. Formal education is classes, teacher, classroom. The teacher must impart what he or she knows, and the student must learn through memorization. Alternative education takes the child out of this space. Take what the young people know and together build new understanding. That's the idea. How do we do this? Many different ways. Using games, using stories, metaphors, leaving the classroom, going to the markets, etc. The educator has to be very creative in utilizing these resources. These are the things the schools don't have time to do. Often they're more interested in advancing their schedule. And in the end, sometimes they're not even interested whether or not the child learns, but whether or not they've moved ahead their agenda. On the other hand, we have more freedom, so we can work in themes that aren't being taught in the regular stream. Themes that young people are actually demanding. My understanding is that Street Kids International introduced the Life Project to CDA, and CDA subsequently has made modifications to meet the requirements of the local population in Bolivia, Ecuador, and Peru. Perhaps you can discuss how the Life Project particularly addresses some of the social issues on the ground. To support youth building new initiatives and to support families supporting those children, and to help them find better opportunities and to improve their abilities and their capacities. So this youth can project his or her life as a project, or a project of life, a project of the community. The idea of the Life Project is to wake up and inspire the young people. If you have the metaphorical dynamite and you light it and it ignites, then you move the child, or you create growth in the child. But on the other hand, if the imagination is not ignited of this child, then the educator must reevaluate their process. So this young person has this transformative experience, then the people around them are also going to be affected by this in a positive way, and they perhaps will follow suit. Institutions are the same way. This is part of our Bolivian culture. We see what other people are doing. If it goes well, we'll do it. Traveling through Bolivia over the last 10 days and meeting with educators and young people involved in the Life Project, one of the most powerful pieces of the puzzle was Código Abierto, or the open code, open source, the fact that information was shared quite freely. Perhaps you can discuss a bit more about the Código Abierto and that philosophy. The open code allows us to share our ideas, our materials, without fear that the material will be replicated or changed. So when it's made open, educators won't be as afraid to change or modify the ideas in order to better suit their needs. And like what we saw in Kiwi Kiwi Alta, when we had to walk to town, the kids in the community were learning how to run businesses, learning about the theme of saving their money. How did the information reach all the way there? Because there's no limits. It's open to everyone. My final question for you, Ivan, is concerning the role of the individual in non-government organizations.
es que no trabajamos con números,
We don't work
no
with numbers.
trabajamos
We don't work with materials.
seres,
We work with
trabajamos con
individuals.
individuos,
We work
trabajamos
with
con
lives.
vidas. Y cada vida es un mundo
And each life is a
completamente
completely
diferente.
different world.
Entonces, estas personas
So those working
que
in
están a
these
cargo
institutions,
de estas
they have
instituciones
to be very
tienen que
engaged.
tener la mente muy
They
grande,
have to work with
o sea,
all their
muy
senses.
amplia.
They
Tienen que
need to use their
tienen que funcionar,
eyes.
creo, sus 5 sentidos,
They
sus
need to
6
use their
sentidos.
ears,
Tienen que
their
funcionar sus
hearts.
ojos,
They need to use their intuition.
su corazón, tienen
They
que
must
tener
have this
su
ability.
olfato, tienen que tener esa
If
capacidad.
these people who are
Si
working
digamos,
with the youth develop these
esos individuos
abilities,
que trabajan con
then
jóvenes
I believe they'll do great
desarrollan
work.
esas habilidades,
They will
creo que
have
así
the
van a poder
savvy
hacer un
to
buen
help
trabajo.
resolve
Van a poder
issues.
entender,
It's not so
van a
much
poder
that the educator would
tener
be
la
solving
sabiduría
all the
de
problems
enfrentar
of
problemas.
the youth, but rather helping to manage
Jóvenes.
the
No quiere decir que
process.
ellos hagan, solucionen
There
los
are
problemas,
sometimes managers
pero
within
van a
these
saber
organizations
cómo
who don't
comunicarse
really
con
understand
estos
the
jefes.
realities
No entienden
of
la
the
necesidad del
youth.
joven, dice, ¿no? No están
Some aren't interested
no les
how
interesa
the young people
cómo
are
el joven se
developing.
está desarrollando.
They're only
Simplemente
interested in
quieren
fulfilling
cumplir
their mandates, their
sus
numbers.
metas, quieren cumplir
That's
sus
why it's so
números y
important
nada más.
that the individuals
Entonces, por eso es
working with these
importante
youth have
que
the
el
right
individuo que se
ability,
dedica
the
a
right
trabajar con estos jóvenes
knowledge
tenga
to
cierta
deal
capacidad,
with
cierta
the
formación,
challenges
cierta,
of
cierto
these young
conocimiento
people.
de la